Welcome back and strap in because we have a massive show today. First up, the audit of Fort Knox, the place where America's gold reserves are supposedly kept, and what it means for Bitcoin's price. Are we on the verge of $5 million Bitcoin? Michael Saylor thinks so. Also, WTF is going on in Argentina? We'll be diving into the shitcoin scandal rocking President Milei. Plus, we have massively bullish news surrounding MicroStrategy, or should I say, strategy.
Drop the.
Now, I know what you're asking yourself right now. Could the results of a Fort Knox audit trigger an overnight devaluation shock, accompanied by a Bitcoin Omega candle? Well, let's find out, shall we? Send it!
Our enemies would hate us, but our allies would complain too. And the U.S. would make $100 trillion in a heartbeat.
You said people should sell their gold to buy Bitcoin. That's what the act proposes. How should the government be thinking about this, in your view?
Gold is a shiny, dead rock. Sell it all. You really want to, if you want to elevate U.S.'s economic leadership in the world, there are two very simple strategies. Dump the gold and buy Bitcoin, because you simultaneously demonetize the asset held by your enemies. Who owns the gold, right? You just sell it all and demonetize gold once and for all, put a stake in its heart, and buy Bitcoin, and you get 20-25% of the Bitcoin network for free. But it's better, right? You could just print the money and buy Bitcoin and keep the gold, but it's so much more intelligent to demonetize your enemy's network and everybody else's network. You might as well drive gold from a $20 trillion asset to a $4 trillion asset, devalue the assets of gold held by every non-US entity, drive Bitcoin to the roof, and then have 25% of the Bitcoin network forever. And so that's a very straightforward thing. My second observation is, they ought to just create a normal regime to issue digital currency backed by U.S. treasuries. I mean, the U.S. ought to have a framework so Tether relocates to New York City. Right, that's what you want, right? And then you ought to basically have a free-for-all where J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs can issue their own stable coin. What's really going to happen here, my strategy would be, and I really think it's evil genius strategy, right? If it's like, it's so good, right, that our enemies would hate us, but our allies would complain too. And the U.S. would make $100 trillion in a heartbeat, right? Here's the strategy. You dump gold, demonetize the entire gold network. You buy Bitcoin. You buy 5 million or 6 million Bitcoin. You monetize the Bitcoin network. All the capital in the world sitting in Siberian real estate or Chinese natural gas or every other currency derivative that's held as a long-term store of value, Europeans, Africans, South Americans, Asians, they all just dump their crappy property and their crappy capital assets, and they buy Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin goes to the moon. The U.S. is the big beneficiary. U.S. companies are the big beneficiary.
Breaking! Elon Musk and his Doge army have been given the green light by a federal judge to access government databases. And now they're eyeing Fort Knox. Senator Rand Paul even jumped on the bandwagon, calling for Elon Musk to audit Fort Knox. Why? Because he, like many of us, suspects something fishy is going on. With Musk's influence and Doge's mimetic power, this audit could turn into one of the biggest stories of the decade. When was the last full audit anyway? Apparently, 1953. Yeah, the year Eisenhower became president. We like Ike. Since then, only spot checks and PR stunts. Remember the 2017 visit by Steve Mnuchin and Mitch McConnell? All the photos were in black and white. Why no color? What are they hiding? And reports just surfaced from a Freedom of Information request, revealing that 7 Fort Knox audit reports covering 1974 to 1986 are mysteriously missing. The U.S. government claims they lost these documents. Lost! How do you lose critical records like that? The OG gold bug, Ron Paul, has been saying it for decades. There's a very good chance the gold isn't there. And if it's not, you know what that means? it means the entire dollar system is backed by thin air.
No, we don't know, and there's a very good chance it's not there or that it's unpledged. I tried hard to get an audit of the Fed as well as the gold, and they're not about to do it. When I was on the Gold Commission in the early 1980s, we had 17 members of the board and 15 voted against auditing the gold. Now, I suspect the gold is not there. The Germans decided we're just supposed to hold gold for foreign governments. The Germans asked for their gold and they didn't get it. Oh, in 5 or 7 years we might have it for you. But even if you walk into Fort Knox and see the gold, what does that prove? It might be pledged. It might be loaned out. So, no, once again, you cannot believe the government on what they tell you about the gold. That's why gold should be in the hands of the people. So you should be buying gold and holding the gold. The more you have, the merrier it is. And when the time of crisis comes, the better. But no, nobody has that answer. But I think the fact that they refuse to allow an audit means that there's some difficulty there.
Enter Bitcoin, a digital reserve asset that can be audited 24/7 by anyone, anywhere. No need for secret vaults or missing reports. Michael Saylor said it best. Dump the gold and buy Bitcoin. And if that were something you were going to do, well, an audit would have to come first.
If you were advising the administration, and as far as I know you are, there's a tension between, so Trump's threatening the BRIC nations saying, if you de-dollarize and the dollar is no longer the default currency, I'm going to raise tariffs because there's an advantage to being the reserve currency. We control 58% of reserves are in the dollar. We get to see flows. We get to have more teeth in our sanctions. And if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, $21 trillion asset class, it's hard for me to see how it wouldn't at least bring reserve currency percentage from the dollar way down. How would you be advising the government to think about the advantages of dollar as reserve currency versus Bitcoin increasing in value and subsequently playing a larger role in perhaps replacing the dollar as a reserve currency?
There's some simple, straightforward things that are good for the United States and probably good for the world too. First of all, just to observe that money decomposes into currency and capital. Currency is the medium of exchange that we use to price everything in the world. The U.S. dollar is definitely the reserve currency. The U.S. dollar is also used as reserve capital, but in the form of treasury bills. Bitcoin is capital. Bitcoin is not currency. Gold has been used as capital. It's not currency anymore. The very simple thing that the U.S. ought to do is they ought to sell the gold and buy Bitcoin with it and buy 20% of the Bitcoin network. It's very simple. Just swap the gold for Bitcoin. If anybody actually swaps out their treasury bills for Bitcoin, then the U.S. is going to own it all. It's kind of like just getting Alaska or the Louisiana Purchase for free. They could pretty much have 20% of the network for free overnight just with a swap. They could even print the money. You know, I mean, they could buy it for next to nothing. The only alternative to the treasury bill for anybody is Bitcoin. And so just do that, and Bitcoin becomes the world reserve capital network, and the U.S. will own both sides of the equation. They'll own the currency and the capital.
Oh no, strange things are happening. Now, on to Argentina. President Javier Milei, the libertarian firebrand, is caught in a meme coin scandal. A shitcoin called Libra. Within hours, 4.4 billion of market cap was erased. This is one of the biggest rug pulls in history, and Milei claimed he wasn't aware of the details. Meanwhile, in El Salvador, President Nayib Bukele is just buying Bitcoin. Stack Bitcoin. It's simple. No meme coins, no scams, just solid Bitcoin accumulation. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One leader is making headlines for all the wrong reasons, while the other is quietly stacking sats for his country. Could this scandal trigger a broader shift in how governments view crypto and shitcoinery? And will more leaders begin to follow Bukele's lead? Time will tell, but it's looking like the writing is on the wall for shitcoiners. Oh, and here we go. What does Mike Armentrout think about this? We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch. We had the chance to slash the state, to build something real. And it was working. You could have stayed the course, wielded your chainsaw, made history. But no, you just had to shill a Solana rug pull. You and your ego. I don't know. Maybe Javier better call Saul. Now we have some wild news to get to from Strategy and Saylor, but before we do, look at our likes!
Three or four times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp while we take a moment to recognize our sponsors, the masters of Bitcoin sovereignty, the Bitcoin way. If you're looking to learn how to Bitcoin, how to properly secure your Bitcoin, you might want to head on over to the newly revamped Bitcoin Way website where you can begin your road to Bitcoin sovereignty today. If you're looking to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, go ahead and use that link below in the show notes. Oh, and guys, we need to have a talk. You know, life as a Bitcoiner can be lonely at times. You bring up Austrian economics to your normie friends and all you get is that blank, confused stare, like you just spoke in ancient Sumerian. Well, those lonely days are gone. With the Orange Pill app, you can stack friends who stack sats. It's the ultimate hub to connect with fellow Bitcoiners. Find meetups and discover every Bitcoin conference happening near you and across the country. No more explaining why money printing is theft to people who just don't get it. Now you can build real friendships with people who actually speak your language. Download the Orange Pill app today and start meeting your laser-eyed brothers and sisters in the real world. Who knows? The connections you make could last a lifetime. Big finish time! Let's bring it home. Here's the massively bullish news. Major financial institutions are loading up on Bitcoin exposure through Strategy. JP Morgan, Cantor Fitzgerald, and even the California State Teachers Retirement System have all doubled down on their Strategy holdings. And now, we're hearing whispers of multiple nations considering strategic Bitcoin reserves. Franklin Templeton, a $1.5 trillion asset manager, expects to see several nations adding Bitcoin to their reserves soon. Think about that for a second. The global shift from gold to Bitcoin is happening right before our eyes, right now. And Michael Saylor's bold idea of dumping US gold for Bitcoin, well, it makes perfect sense in this context. To do that, though, you would need a full audit of the gold reserves, right? Could Trump's rumored plan to audit Fort Knox be the catalyst for this seismic shift? I don't know, but if you ask me, it's all lining up.
Every time the U.S. government prints a dollar, they're devaluing me in my life because I've spent time and energy here on this planet. In return for that, I've got U.S. dollars, and now those U.S. dollars are worth less, so I'm worth less. Yes. And so thinking of money as how to capture your time and energy is a very powerful idea, as opposed to like a piece of paper or as opposed to something that your government, whatever, tells you to use. Then contrast it to the dollar. If a government can print their own money and debase their money, that means they're debasing by proxy your time and energy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So also a government's ability to borrow their own money is, in my opinion, as close to time travel as we've ever seen, because you're borrowing the time and energy from the collective populace from the future.
Jack Mallers summed it up perfectly. Every time the US government prints a dollar, they're devaluing me, you, and our lives. But thank God, Bitcoin fixes this. With central banks around the world printing money at an unprecedented rate, the demand for a sound, inflation-proof asset is skyrocketing. Make no mistake, we are on the brink of a Bitcoin supercycle. The combination of institutional adoption, national strategic reserves, and the potential Fort Knox audit is creating the perfect storm. If the gold isn't there, expect a shock to the financial system and an omega candle in Bitcoin's price. Oh, and guys, you remember our talk about making connections with non-normies? You can do just that at the biggest Bitcoin mining conference on planet Earth, Mining Disrupt 2025, and it is coming in hot. The biggest Bitcoin mining conference on the planet, and it's coming to Fort Lauderdale, March 25th through the 27th. Get your tickets today and join thousands of Bitcoin mining professionals and enthusiasts from around the globe for an electrifying experience at Mining Disrupt. See the latest cutting-edge hardware, products, and services that are revolutionizing the Bitcoin mining industry. For over half a decade, Mining Disrupt has been the premier conference and expo exclusively dedicated to Bitcoin mining. Be part of the future and join the movement that's shaping the world of Bitcoin mining. Don't miss out. Head over to miningdisrupt.com and get your tickets today. Use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off. Oh, and the Simply Bitcoin news desk gonna be on site. I'm gonna be there. Nico and Opti are gonna be there holding it down, and we hope to see you there as well. So will the Fort Knox audit send Bitcoin to $5 million? Let us know what you think below. It might sound crazy, but in a world where trust is eroding, anything is possible. Whether it's Elon Musk's Doge army invading Fort Knox or Michael Saylor's vision for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. One thing is clear, Bitcoin is winning. Hey, I love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.